Welcome to Up on Game presents Taylor Scouting. Coach Randy Taylor is bringing his 40-plus years of knowledge to you. This is Taylor Scouting. And now, here's Coach Randy Taylor.
This is Coach Randy Taylor. They call me Coach Taylor with the Up on Game Network. Go to Up on Game Presents on YouTube and get us at Taylor Scouting for our podcasts. You can also tune in through iHeartRadio app and any other places you get your apps, and go to subscribe to Up on Game Presents and follow us, and you can review us at the end. You can follow me at rtaylorfb Scout on Twitter, and I'll communicate with you there. So we're going to start here with one of my favorite ball coaches that I've known a long, long time is Coach Jim Good. Welcome, Coach. Coach is the head football coach at the University of Redlands, going into his third year as the head coach of the Bulldogs. They're a member of the SCIAC, Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. That's a mouthful. And a very successful Division III program. And we're going to talk about Division III recruiting. You know, we always do try to do some education on this. And what I want to do is start with Coach Good. First of all, welcome. Glad to have you.
Appreciate it, Randy.
And we're going to see just give us a brief football background for you, Coach.
Gosh, that's a tough question in a lot of ways, because I remember playing when I was a little kid with my older brother. You know, I don't know if you want me to start that far back, but, you know, I obviously played in high school and college, had a great experience both at the high school level and the college level, and been able to coach for quite a while now. And I've coached in states, Oregon, Texas, Illinois, Minnesota, which is where I met you, and then now in Southern California. So I've been at 5 different institutions and all Division III. So I'm a D3 guy. You know, I guess that people say once you're D3, you stay D3, and that's kind of where I've been at, and really enjoy this level.
Great. Yeah, and D3 is an interesting world, and it's so much different other than on the field. And there's other things that are the same with all other levels. But tell us a bit about your program, like you're talking to a prospect or a family or the fans.
Wow. Well, that's a whole different bunch of categories there. You know, Redlands is a great place. Redlands is a place where guys can succeed both in the classroom and on the football field. We want guys that really, really work hard to be successful in both areas. We want guys that can compete both on the field and in the classroom, and guys that love to compete both on the field and in the classroom. And what's nice about Redlands, which is, and I can say this because I've been at a number of institutions, they put the same value both on the field and in the classroom. You know, the administration really values athletics, and obviously they really value academics. And I think it shows through with our program.
What are the main academic studies there at Redlands?
Our most popular major is business. I'd say a good majority of our players are business majors, but we've had pre-med guys, we've had math guys, we've had physics guys, we've had 3-2 program guys that end up being here for 3 or 4 years, then studying engineering at Columbia or WashU back in St. Louis. That's the nice thing about Redlands is it's a liberal arts school that has a lot of different areas to study, but I would say business is probably our most popular major.
What do you want the parents of your players to know when they sign with you, when they come to Redlands? What should the parents and families know?
They're going to be treated right. Their sons are going to be treated right. We're going to continue where they left off as far as developing those young men into grown men. There's a lot of transition that occurs from an 18-year-old guy to being 22, 23 years old and putting himself in a great position to be out in the job market. And that's our job as a staff. And that's something that I talk to parents quite a bit, that we're going to take care of their sons.
That's great. I know that's the most important is my son or whoever going to be taken care of. That's a big deal. And I know you do. And that's why I wanted you to talk about it, because I know you well, and I know your staff and their players, coaches, and that's an important thing. Hey, coach, as the head football coach, what are some of your most important jobs? I asked this of Kalen DeBoer recently, and it's interesting to find out because you're in a whole different world than Kalen is at Washington University, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And here's kind of a funny story about Coach DeBoer. His executive assistant was my work study student, Allie Smith, which is Rob Smith's daughter, who was the head coach at Western Washington, Humboldt State. And Allie was actually a national champion in the hurdles here for our track team. But she was a 4-year work study person for us in a recruiting and did a phenomenal job. Now she's working for him up there. But our job as a Division III head coach, oh my gosh, I mean, how many hats can you wear? Today, Coach Mariani, just down the hall, we have a group that's going to come visit, and we're in the middle of spring practice, and their hope was, his hope was is for one of our coaches to give a facilities tour during our practice. Well, at Division III, our coaches are coaching during practice. We don't have the recruiting staff and everybody else. You're looking at them, with our full-time coaches and our part-time coaches. So the hats that I wear, oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure out where I really want to start. But I'm also the offensive coordinator. So I got to call plays and do that and organize our offense. I've got to do a great job of communicating the parameters of our program to our staff and our players and everybody that's involved with our program. I got to do a great job of developing relationships, not just within our team, with our program and our coaches, but around the campus, around our community and our alums. I can go on and on. Today we were, Coach Moore we had a rainy practice, which never happens down in Southern California. And we were trying to pick up balls in the conference room that were drying out.
Yeah, it's never ends. And what I kind of want to do is this is like my opportunity to give you and the Bulldogs some recruiting time and to really kind of talk about your program, but also to talk about what happens at a Division III school in all the different phases. And so we'll talk about recruiting in a little bit, but as an overall philosophy, or how do you coach your coaches and staff? What's the most important thing when you're in your staff meeting at the beginning of the year? What do you tell those folks?
Well, we talk about communication, the importance of communication. We will sit and talk about our program, what we want to see with our program. And I talk about parameters a lot, and we set those parameters and we communicate those parameters to everybody that's involved. So they're clear and concise. If one does not know what the expectation is on that one person, it's going to create a high level of anxiety. And to me, it's our job as coaches to eliminate that level of anxiety when it comes to players, when it comes to coaches and everybody else. So, our job as a head coach, my job as a head coach, is to communicate to our coaches and make sure that we set our standards, that we have a united front, that we can share those same standards with our players and everybody that's in part of our program.
Are you a coach that has a written job description for each of these guys? How do you handle that?
We do. We have written job descriptions. Luckily, we've been all together for so long that we kind of know what each person's job duties are. And then when there is a little bit of a question, then we'll meet as a staff and make sure that we're all on the same page. I'm just thankful that the staff that we have with Coach Mariani, Coach Lord, Coach Moore, Coach Kaba. I could go on and on with all those guys, and they are in coaching for the right reasons, and because we've worked together so long, the job duties, yes, we have that on paper, but I think that's something that there's a lot of unwritten duties that we have.
Right, through your knowledge of each other.
Yeah.
So let's now take you into the very first players meeting, and you're in that one room and you want to give your message to the players. What does that message or philosophy sound like?
Well, we first talk about expectations, and really our expectations are how to be a Bulldog football player. We talk about the Bulldog way, which is 11 things of what to be, rather than, we don't have rules. We have expectations and really guidelines of how to be a great football player, how to be a great person. And, there's everything in there about mental toughness, extreme desire to being a great communicator and being supportive of your teammates. And that's one thing that we value really, really big is being a great teammate. You need to support and encourage your teammates at all times, whether it's good times or bad times. You always have to be a great teammate. And that's something that will hit quite a bit.
That's great. Yeah. They all have to be on the same page. And I like having a number, 11 is kind of a key number in football, and I imagine that helps those kids understand. I always wanted something in writing too, that this is kind of the what's expected of me. So let's move into the recruiting process, Coach. I know D3 recruiting is different. There's all kinds of levels of recruiting. Can you give us, again, this is going to be an overall big world picture, a synopsis of your process in recruiting?
You bet. And in Division III, there is a lot of different ways to recruit. There's teams that will recruit every single guy they possibly can, and because they need numbers for the program. And luckily, we're not in that position here at Redlands. We can be selective, and that's something we really work hard on, is being efficient with our recruiting. You have to fish with a big net in Division III recruiting, but you do need to eliminate some guys, and we work hard on having kind of the standard of academics, the standard of level of performance, and then also the standard of character. And so the first thing that we ask every recruit that we're recruiting is a copy of their transcript. We need to see their transcript to see if they fit our academic standards and our academic parameters. And if they don't, we let them know and we move on. If they do, great. Now next step is going to be the film, or get them out to one of our camps and get a chance to evaluate them physically. And then, of course, we want to try to talk to people about what kind of people they are, and then it goes from there.
You mentioned camps, and we'll get into that in a little bit, because you have some of the best camps I've ever been to, and I love it. I love going to those. How do you? What's the first step? The identification of a player. How is your staff divided? Do you have areas? How does that work for you guys?
We do. We have regional territories. We separate it up by area codes or states. We work hard really on the West Coast. Oregon, Washington, California, obviously, are big states for us. We'll dabble a little bit in Nevada, Arizona. We actually, there's one state, I'm not going to necessarily mention it, but it's become really a good place for us, that we really are excited about the future of bringing guys in from this state. And so we do separate it by areas and territories. And then as time moves on, then we move it into more of the position recruiting coach. And when we go through the evaluation process of video, we do get the recruiting coach involved, the coordinator involved, and then also the position coach involved. So we want to get multiple eyes on the video, just because if we offered roster spots to every single guy that comes across our desk, we'd have 200 guys on our team, and we want to be careful about having too many guys. We want to have our guys have a great student experience. If you have a locker room that's completely packed full of guys, that you don't necessarily have the greatest experience. So we're pretty we want to be strong evaluators.
Yeah, and then what's the timing in your process? Because of all the different levels of football, how does the timing work in your world?
And again, in with Division III, it really is different from school to school. There's some schools that right now that are out offering 24s and getting involved with that group. We're still finishing our class of 23, and we won't really get started on our 24s until probably May. And then that's when we really hit the video and try to invite guys out to the camps and start our evaluation process in May.
Do you have a type of student athlete? I know academics, you talked about football, you talked about, are there, there's so many length and all those things as far as the physical aspects of a student athlete. Do you have a secret to what kind of player that you want, or what he looks like?
Well, it depends on what position. Right. When you say what he looks like, I think what the qualities that cover all position groups is guys that absolutely love to compete, and guys that love football. And if you love football, if football's really, really important to you, this is a great place, because you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of guys that are the same way. I love the multi-sport guy just because that really tells you they love to compete. And so those are not necessarily what they look like, but that is something that we really look for.
Do you guys have a lot of activity in the transfer portal now?
That's a good question. We kind of dabbled in it a little bit, looked in there, and I don't know if it's really hitting the D3 level that much. I think when guys go into the transfer portal, they're not, fired up about going to a D3 school and having to pay. They're looking for the scholarship and a little bit cheaper education. As of late, there has been more D3 guys jumping in the portal and reaching out to us. And I think that the majority of those guys are guys that end up going to the Midwest or back east that are from the West Coast, and they realize that maybe that's not such a great fit for them and they want to come back home. And that's what we're hitting a little bit.
Yeah, gotcha. If is there any? I know that they have to pay for the D3 school themselves, and I know there's financial aid packages and different things that you can help them with. But do you feel like a kid may go to a D3 just to get tape and then try to get into a 4-year with a scholarship?
I think we're hearing some schools that recruit that way.
Right.
We're not. To me, the value of going to college is getting education and having success after graduation. And I think if you're bouncing around schools, you're not necessarily going to have that type of success. And we talk about, we recruit guys, we want them here for 4 years and graduate from our place. And that's something that we value strongly. That has not hit us yet. I have heard schools recruiting that way, and I don't know if that's the best. This doesn't fit our philosophy.
Yeah, makes sense. I would want that relationship and the buy-in and all those things that you're trying to get. It's hard to do it in a year, so I'm with you on that. How about the NIL? I don't suspect that Redlands has an NIL program, but do you have? Is there any trickle down from that, or what's your thoughts about the NIL in general?
I think there is trickle down. I think our players, they see what they see on TV on Saturdays and online and Twitter and the internet and everything else. And I think that they hope that there's going to be a piece of that pie for them. And I do know that I had a long conversation with a couple guys. We do this camp, Ronald McDonald for Good Times. We go up to this camp up in the mountains for kids with cancer and get the camp ready to go. And it's a great opportunity to sit down and have conversations with players. And I had a long conversation over cooking a meal with a couple guys, and we had a long conversation about the NIL deal. And they're hopeful that they can find something with that. We've got one guy that ended up getting some sunglasses, another guy that ended up getting some skincare products. I don't know. I don't think there's big money in at our level, but I do know that there's hope that can maybe help support some guys.
Yeah, I would probably be out there looking for somebody to do my hair, with with an NIL deal. But that's a different subject. So, Coach, what's your close at Redlands? Okay, so you're in the living room, you're at the high school, you're sitting with the player, and then let's not forget to talk about your camps right after this. What's your close? Why to choose Redlands? You've talked about a lot of it already.
Yeah, to me, we want to prepare guys for 15 years from now. Where are they going to be 15 years from graduation? Where is Redlands and our football program how is that going to prepare those guys to have success at that point in time in their life? And I think that Redlands does a great job of that. They're going to be, if you come to Redlands, you're going to be surrounded by guys that love to compete both on the field and in the classroom, and it's going to show. Our guys get jobs, and I say that sincerely. That it is different here than it is at the other schools that I've worked at. Our guys get jobs. We had Michael Mendich signed a contract with the 4th largest accounting firm in the world during our season. He had an opportunity to come back for a 5th year. With COVID, a lot of these guys are coming back for 5th years. We're struggling with some of that because these guys get jobs. And so that's kind of the exciting point of our program. And not only do they get jobs, but they have great relationships with their professors, whether it's Scott Randolph in our business program or if it's Ben Aronson in biology. Those professors on our campus do a great job of developing relationships with our players and help them with letters of recommendation, job placement, and everything else. And that's something that's really neat here compared to a lot of schools.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of you guys. Talk about your camps. You have, to me, the best camp program that I've seen for summer camps for high school football players to come and work out and train.
Yeah, our camps, when I first got here 12 years ago, Coach Maynard was our head coach. And one of the things we did these little kid camps, and they'd be overnight camps. we started getting charged for $15 for a bowl cereal, and it was great to develop young players and their excitement about football. But we started thinking about how is that going to help us with recruiting. And then we started thinking about, well, gosh, what if we did these other type of camps, these skills camps? Back when I was at Texas Lutheran, I did a skills camp for Oklahoma State, and this is a long time ago. This was in Houston, and so I thought, well, maybe that could be something. And then Brian Lindgren, who was the offensive coordinator at Colorado at the time, reached out to us and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this skills camp. And so he called Coach Maynard, and we said, yeah, that's something we should do. And I talked to him about the experience that we had with Oklahoma State. And so the first skills camp that we did was with Colorado. And I remember that camp, and I remember a specific event that occurred during that camp. I don't know if you remember J.J. Taylor from Centennial. I remember the running back coach coming up to me from Colorado and was, hey, where is Coach McIntyre? I got to show him this guy. And this was at the very, very beginning, the first 15 minutes of the camp during this agility program that we did. And that kid got offered a scholarship. No one even knew about this guy because I don't know what kind of junior year he had, but he got offered a scholarship at that camp right then and there. And then we realized, boy, we're onto something. This is a great opportunity for guys to be seen in the local area, to where, maybe a guy doesn't have the money to fly up to Pullman, to visit with Washington State, or fly to Utah to visit with the Utah staff. Those guys can come down here in the IE where there's great football in this local area, and they'll come to our campus. And at that time, in June, I think everybody thinks that they're a Division I player and they're all going to go to the Pac-12. But what it does is it gets about 2,500 students on our campus that are football guys that see what we're all about and see our campus, get a chance to meet our staff, and it helps us with recruiting. And so it's been a really, really fun event to be a part of. Thankfully, Coach Mariani does a phenomenal job with registration, and our staff does a phenomenal job coaching and understanding the student athlete experience during those camps has got to be top quality, and it's got to be organized. So thankfully, we have a great staff that does a wonderful job with those camps, but it's been great for us.
Do you have, I think I've seen your calendar for that. So what are you don't have to give me the whole day. What are the schools that are going to host the primary schools that will host your camps, and how many camps?
We're going to have, that's a great question, 6 or 7. So I'm going to name them. Hopefully I can name them all. We got Washington State, Oregon State. We also have Penn coming as an Ivy League school. And we're still talking with them about what schools will come with them. We're hoping that'll be a little bit more of an academic camp. We also have a mega camp, which right now, I believe UCLA and Utah have already signed up for that one. And gosh, I feel really bad because I know I'm forgetting somebody.
Yeah, and I mean, for me being at those as well, scouting those kids for our purposes, that was one of the greatest things too, was to have all of those coaches there from, and not just the Division I programs, but you had at FCS, and you had Group of 5 like San Diego State and San Jose State, and other of those schools will be there. So if a player wants to be seen, go to those camps, right? You will be seen and you'll get a lot of video. Do you get requests for that video when you don't really video any of it, but some of those coaches do when they're there?
Yeah, we don't video anything. I forgot to mention Arizona. Can't forget those guys. They're going to be here. They're going to headline a camp again. But yeah, the other thing it does too is I know that there's guys out there that really believe that they're a Division I player, and maybe the parent thinks they're a Division I player, and then they go to these camps and they realize, well, maybe I'm not a Division I player, because now I'm covering a 5-star athlete, and I didn't do a great job covering that guy. Now I understand why he's a 5-star athlete. Maybe I'm a Division II or Division III type player. So that also helps. But I know Eastern Washington, Portland State have signed up. There is the mid-level schools. Fresno State is signed up. San Diego, Idaho. But there'll be more as time goes on. But we try to get that information out via Twitter. Follow myself, follow Randy, follow our staff, our football Twitter page, and that information, we send that out as guys update who's coming.
Go ahead, Coach, and give us those that Twitter information and who they should reach out to for camp.
Yeah, you put pressure on me, Randy. I got to look at my Twitter on my phone just so I get that right. Our Twitter handle for Bulldog football is U of R _ football. So U of R _ football. Or you can just Google myself or Joey Mariani, or search it on Twitter, and you'll find us. And we have the website of how to sign up. One thing that we take pride in, these camps, we look at the cost of these camps and they keep going up and up and up. And when we first started these camps about 8 years ago, we started at about $50. They were $50 per camp. And we made a huge jump. We raised it up to $60 a couple years ago. And that's where we're going to stay this year. To me, it's all about getting guys the opportunity to participate and compete in front of coaches and get a chance to be seen. And you start charging $100, $200 like some of these camps, it kind of takes that opportunity away. And so you can go to all of our camps for the cost of one of some of these other camps.
Yeah, you can tell the value of a camp. If I'm a student athlete and I tell these kids this, if you can tell the value of a camp by all of the college coaches that you will have contact with or be seen by or bump into, and the cost is not egregious, I know you guys are doing it for the right reason because of that, because you could be bumping up that dollar amount, and you don't. And that just tells me that this is about the kids. It's about football, and it's about college coaches and recruiting. And the Bulldogs are all about that, Coach. I know that. What should we expect from the Bulldogs coming up this year?
Well, they're gonna play like crazy. We're gonna play physical, hard-nosed football. That's something that we take pride in, and we're gonna compete. We've done a great job this offseason. Our strength program, we've made some changes, and we're excited about the weight they're pushing around and the attitude that we're working out with. We've had a great first couple of weeks of spring practice. We've got a great thing going right now.
Will you have any games outside? What games outside of the state will you be, so college, maybe some of those kids can check out Redlands?
Yeah, we actually travel up to Tacoma, Washington to compete against Pacific Lutheran this year. It's a 1-year deal. We normally will play against George Fox, but we kind of got out of that for whatever reason, and now we're going to play PLU for just this coming year. We always have an agreement with the Northwest Conference where we'll compete and play at least one game a year up in the Northwest.
It's good to get up where you're recruiting, right?
Absolutely. And it's great to get half our guys to get on a plane and fly. And, some of these guys are flying for the first time. It's always fun to see how those guys react. And, but it's a great experience for sure.
Yeah, that is absolutely a great experience to play college football at any level. And Coach, I really appreciate you being on with me today. Division III football is the best, purest football that you can find. My dad played at Illinois Wesleyan, D3 level, and I used to love going to those games, getting on those great campuses in really cool parts of the United States. So, Coach, thanks for joining me today. We're going to sign off. Remember, this is Up on Game Network. Subscribe to us at Up on Game Presents on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast. Rate and review us, please, and follow us on all social platforms by searching the Up on Game Network. Search and follow Randy Taylor, Coach Taylor, at rTaylorFB Scout on Twitter. And we look forward to seeing you guys again at our next podcast down the road. Thanks, folks. Thanks, Coach. Good.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate you taking Division III and giving us an opportunity to talk a little bit about Division III football. It's a great level of play. Our kids compete like crazy, just like you said. And, we got to do a great job of educating everybody what Division III athletics is all about.
You got it, brother. Take care.
Thank you.